In the heart of a vibrant village, surrounded by the vast savannas of Africa, beneath the sprawling branches of an ancient baobab tree, two sisters, Adaeze and Kioma, lived a life marked by the scorn of their father, Okonkwo. Okonkwo was a man of formidable reputation, known throughout the village not only for his wealth and strength, but also for his stern and unyielding nature. Adaeze the elder was as gentle as the morning breeze, her voice soothing and her demeanor kind, qualities that endeared her to the hearts of the villagers but failed to impress her father. Kioma, younger by 2 springs, bore the spirit of fire, fierce, determined, and unbreakable. Despite their contrasting natures, the sisters shared an unbreakable bond, woven through shared adversity and the pain of rejection. Their mother, Ama, had passed into the spirit world during Kioma's birth, leaving them under the indifferent care of their father. Okonkwo blamed his daughters for his beloved wife's death, a burden he never let them forget. "You are the shadows of misfortune," he would declare in moments of anger, his voice as harsh as the Harmattan winds. As the sisters grew, so did their beauty and strength, drawing the eyes and hearts of the village youths. However, Okonkwo's bitter words formed a barrier around them, a warning to all that his daughters were under a cloud of ill omen. One day the village healer, an old woman named Ngozi, who was known for her wisdom and connection to the spirits, called Adaeze and Kioma to her hut. Her home was a sanctuary, filled with the scent of herbs and the soft whisper of wind chimes. "Listen carefully, my children," Ngozi began, her voice as cracked as the dry earth but filled with warmth. "The spirits of our ancestors whisper of a journey you must embark upon, a journey that will lead you to a destiny greater than the one your father foresees." The sisters listened, their hearts beating in unison as Ngozi spoke of a prophecy. "The sun and moon," she said, referring to Adaeze and Chioma by the names that reflected their personalities, "will journey to the mountain where the sky kisses the earth. There, you will find the Spirit Stone, a gem of great power and blessing. It will heal your father's heart and bring honor to your lineage." Filled with a mix of fear and excitement, the sisters returned to their hut, pondering Ngozi's words. That night, under the blanket of a starry sky, they made a pact. "We will embark on this journey together," Adaeze whispered, "for our mother's memory, for our father's heart, and for our own sake." As dawn painted the sky with hues of orange and pink, Adaeze and Kioma set out, leaving behind the only home they had ever known. Their first steps were heavy with uncertainty, but the promise of fulfilling the prophecy and proving their worth drove them forward. Their path would take them through the plains where lions roamed, across rivers teeming with crocodiles, and into forests alive with the calls of monkeys and birds. Each step was a testament to their courage, each night spent under the open sky a reminder of their resolve. As the chapter closes, the sisters, with nothing but the belongings they could carry and the strength of their will, walked towards the distant mountains, their silhouettes small but determined against the vast African landscape. The journey had begun, and their story, woven into the tapestry of village folklore, would be one of bravery, love, and transformation. Under the blazing sun, Adaeze and Kioma ventured deeper into the wilderness. The savanna stretched endlessly before them, a tapestry of golden grasses and distant hazy mountains. With each step, they moved further from the life they once knew, driven by the hope of finding the Spirit Stone and healing the rift in their family. In the early days, the sisters navigated challenges with a keen sense of purpose. Their first obstacle was the river Ono, whose waters ran swift and deep. Legend spoke of the Ono as a serpent, winding and unpredictable. With careful coordination, they fashioned a raft from the trunks of fallen trees, binding them with vines. As they crossed, the river tested their resolve, thrashing against the makeshift raft with roiling currents. Yet, with unwavering resolve, they steered through the tumult, reaching the opposite shore, drenched but triumphant. Beyond the river lay the plains of Ezinma, a stretch of land notorious for its deceptive tranquility. Here, the grass whispered secrets of lurking predators. One twilight, as the horizon bled into shades of purple and red, a pride of lions appeared. The sisters froze, Adaeze clutching a sharp stone, Kioma readying her stance. Remembering the villagers' tales, they stood back to back, making themselves appear larger and chanting defiant songs of their ancestors. The lions, perhaps perceiving the strength of their spirits, eventually turned away, leaving them in tense relief. As days turned to weeks, the landscape changed, giving way to dense forests where the canopy held the sky at bay. Here, the air was thick with the hum of insects and the rich aroma of earth and foliage. Monkeys chattered above, flinging shadows down upon the forest floor. Once, while gathering fruit, Kioma brushed against a plant whose sap caused her arm to swell with pain. Adaeze, recalling the remedies taught by Ngozi, quickly created a poultice from mud and certain leaves, easing the swelling and soothing the sting. Each night, they sat by the fire, recounting stories of the village and their mother's wisdom, reinforcing their spirits against the weight of their father's rejection. These stories spun a protective web, preserving their courage and fortitude against the encroaching shadows of doubt. With the mountains now looming closer, their destination seemed within reach, yet as much as the landscape around them had evolved, so had they. No longer were they merely daughters scorned. They had become carriers of hope and determination, bearers of a legacy they were only beginning to understand. With each obstacle surmounted, their legend grew in their own eyes, a narrative of resilience that would one day return to their village, transformed and triumphant. As the sisters ascended the lower slopes of the mountain, a heavy fog descended, shrouding them in a ghostly veil. The path became steeper and the air cooler, their breaths visible in the quiet air. Here, the true test awaited, the final ascent to where earth met the sky, to claim the spirit stone and perhaps a new beginning. Shrouded in the embrace of early morning mist, Adaeze and Kioma pressed onward, their path narrowing as they ascended the rugged slopes of the mountain. The air grew thin, whispering ancient secrets through the leaves of sparse mountain trees, whose gnarled branches pointed skyward like the fingers of the wise. The mountain, known to locals as Olumo, was said to be a place where the spirits danced at dawn, their silhouettes etched against the lightening sky. As they climbed, the sisters felt the presence of these spirits, a subtle assurance that they were not alone in their quest. Emerging from the fog, they found themselves on a plateau, the ground scattered with shards of quartz that glittered like stars underfoot. Here the forest receded, giving way to a field of grass bent by the wind. In the center stood an ancient tree, its trunk wide and welcoming, the leaves rustling with the sounds of unseen movements. Adaeze and Kioma approached the tree, their hearts pounding not from the climb, but from the realization that their goal was near. From the branches hung a myriad of objects, feathers, bones, stones, all tied with vines, swaying gently. This was a sacred place, a shrine of sorts, where travelers left offerings to the spirits of the mountain. Remembering the old tales, the sisters each took something from their small belongings, a bead from Adaeze's necklace, a piece of fabric from Kioma's dress, and tied them to the branches. As they did, a wind picked up, the leaves whispering louder, as if in approval. With their offerings made, they continued their ascent. The path here was steep, the rocks loose underfoot, requiring every ounce of their concentration and strength. They helped each other, one sister extending a hand to the other, their bond deepening with each step, each gesture of support. As the sun rose higher, painting the world in hues of gold and amber, they reached the summit. There, amidst a circle of stones, lay the spirit stone. It was not hidden nor guarded by any beast. It simply lay in the open, its surface smooth and iridescent, reflecting the sky above and the world around. It pulsed with a light of its own, a heart beating in tune with the earth. Adaeze reached out first, her fingers trembling as they brushed against the stone. The moment she touched it, a warmth spread through her, a feeling of profound peace and connection. Kioma followed, her touch bringing a surge of strength and clarity. Together, they lifted the stone, light despite its size, and held it between them, their eyes reflecting its celestial glow. In that moment, high above the world, something shifted. The air shimmered, the horizon widened, and the sisters felt a release, as if the weight of their father's scorn was but a distant memory, dissolved by the stone's grace. Filled with new purpose, they knew it was time to return. With the spirit stone secured in their shared hold, they made their way down from the summit, the mountain now a familiar friend, its dangers an echo of the past. Their descent was a mirror of their ascent, yet everything had changed. They moved with a new rhythm, a confidence born of their trials and triumphs. Each step took them closer to home, to a confrontation with their father, and to a future they could now shape with their own hands. Descending Olumo, the sisters, Adaeze and Kioma, navigated their path with renewed vigor. the spirit stone a silent beacon of their newfound resolve. With each step away from the mountain's summit, the landscape transformed, from stark rock faces to lush, verdant woods humming with the life of the forest. Their return was marked not just by a physical retracing of steps, but by a profound internal shift. The burdens of past grievances seemed to lighten with every mile, dissolved in the morning mists that rolled over the hills. As they crossed back over the river Ono, this time without the desperate urgency of their initial crossing, they found a moment to reflect beside the gentle waters, watching the light dance upon the surface. One evening, as twilight draped the sky in a cloak of deep indigo, they reached the plains of Ezinma. Here, under the gaze of the same pride of lions they had encountered before, a mutual respect was silently acknowledged. The lions, majestic and serene, regarded the sisters from a distance before disappearing into the night, a testament to the invisible threads of understanding woven between all creatures. Upon leaving the plains, the sisters ventured through the once daunting forest, now familiar territory. Their passage was quiet, respectful, the forest creatures acknowledging their presence with calm curiosity. The trees, tall and wise, seemed to bow as they passed, leaves whispering secrets of growth and renewal. Emerging from the woods, the village came into view, its outlines softened by the golden hues of dusk. Their hearts swelled at the sight, a blend of nostalgia and anticipation stirring within. They paused at the edge of the village, the spirit stone cradled between them, its glow a soft luminescence under the crescent moon. Stepping forward, they entered the village, their appearance causing a ripple of surprise and murmurs among the villagers gathered in the evening cool. The news of their return spread like wildfire, drawing out even those who had doubted them most. At the center of the gathering stood Okonkwo, his figure imposing yet faltering slightly upon seeing his daughters. His eyes, once harsh and unforgiving, now flickered with an indecipherable emotion as he met their gaze. Adaeze and Kioma approached, the spirit stone held out before them. The village elder, a wise old man named Azudo, stepped forward, his voice resonating with the weight of years and wisdom. Okonkwo, behold your daughters, who have returned not just as bearers of the spirit stone, but as embodiments of courage and unity. The crowd fell silent, the only sound the soft rustling of leaves in the breeze. Okonkwo's gaze shifted from the stone to his daughters, his posture softening, the lines of his face rearranging into an expression unread by his people before. With a solemn grace, Adaeze spoke. Father, this stone is not just a symbol of our quest's end, but a beginning for us all, to heal and to bind what was once broken. Kioma added, we seek not just your acceptance, but a new foundation for all of us, built on respect and understanding. The air was thick with anticipation, every villager holding their breath, watching as Okonkwo took a step forward. He extended his hands, his fingers brushing against the stone, the contact sparking a visible jolt through him. As the spirit stone's light enveloped him, the village watched as the hardened exterior of their leader softened, his eyes now glistening with unshed tears. Okonkwo looked at his daughters, a fragile smile breaking through the first many had seen. The night air hung still as Okonkwo reached out, his touch upon the spirit stone marking a profound shift within him. The villagers, encircling the scene, whispered among themselves, their voices a blend of awe and hope. Under the gaze of the moon, a palpable change was unfolding, one that promised to mend the fabric of their community. As Okonkwo withdrew his hands from the stone, he faced his daughters, his eyes now reflecting a deep, resonant understanding. Adaeze Kioma, he began, his voice steadier than before. Your bravery has brought light where I saw only darkness. I was blinded by my grief and I failed you as a father. The sisters listened, their hands clasped together, their shared strength a beacon as much for their father as for the entire village. Okonkwo's admission was a balm to the years of pain, weaving a new narrative into the lineage of their family. Adaeze responded, her voice soft yet clear. Father, the past may shadow our steps, but today we choose a path lit by forgiveness and unity. Let this stone serve not only as a healing balm, but as a cornerstone of a new beginning. Kioma, her spirit as fiery as ever, added, let us rebuild not just the bonds of our family, but of all families within our village. Let this be the legacy of our return, the tale that will be told to generations. The elder, Azudo, nodded in agreement, his experienced eyes witnessing the unfolding of a historic reconciliation. Tonight, a new chapter begins in our village, he announced, turning to address the gathered crowd. a chapter where we learn from the courage of these young women embracing change and fostering unity. The villagers responded, their voices rising in a chorus of agreement and celebration. Drums were brought out, and the air quickly filled with rhythmic beats, the dancers' feet stirring up dust in harmony with the pulsing melodies. The festivities continued into the night, with songs of heroism, dances of joy, and stories of the sisters' adventures retold by the flickering light of the fires. As the celebration wore on, the sisters moved through the crowd, their presence a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Their return had not just brought back a sacred stone, but had revitalized the heart of their community. In the days that followed, Adeze and Kioma worked alongside their father and the elders to restore and strengthen the village's traditions and bonds. Okonkwo, now humbled and open, took part in the daily activities of the village, his relationship with his daughters blossoming anew. The spirit stone was placed at the village center under the ancient baobab tree, a symbolic protector of the community. It stood as a constant reminder of the journey undertaken and the lessons learned, its glow a soft, steady light under the sun and stars. As time passed, the story of the sisters and their father became a vital part of the village's lore, shared with visitors and passed down to the children. It was a story that transcended the personal, becoming a communal treasure, emblematic of transformation and the power of unity. In the seasons that followed, the village under the ancient baobab thrived as never before. The fields, once tended in silent toil, now resounded with the songs of those who worked them, their melodies carrying tales of resilience and hope. The villagers, inspired by the story of Adeze and Kioma, cultivated not just the land, but the bonds among them, their unity fostering an abundant harvest. As the moon cycled and the rains blessed the earth, the sisters took on new roles within their community. Adeze, with her calming presence, became a mediator, her words weaving peace among conflicting hearts. Kioma, ever passionate, spearheaded projects to expand the village's resources, her energy as infectious as the first light of dawn. Okonkwo, witnessing the transformation sparked by his daughters, dedicated himself to mentoring the youth. His teachings, once harsh lessons of survival, now also included the virtues of compassion and understanding. He shared stories of his own faults and learnings, his narrative a humble tapestry that enriched the village lore. One day, as the sun reached its zenith in the clear blue sky, a neighboring village sent envoys, having heard of the miraculous changes at the heart of their community. They arrived bearing gifts of grain and crafts, their leader, a wise woman named Ifeinwa, seeking the wisdom behind the transformation. Izudo welcomed them beneath the shade of the baobab, where the spirit stone lay. This stone, he explained, is indeed miraculous, not for any mystical powers it may hold, but for the journey it represents, a transformation fueled by the courage to forgive, to unite, and to move forward together. Ifeinwa, moved by the tale, expressed a desire to foster a similar spirit in her own community. "We too have faced divisions," she admitted. "Perhaps we need not a stone, but a new story, one that can heal as yours has." Encouraged by this dialogue, Adeze proposed a festival, a gathering of all nearby villages to share stories, songs, and dances. "Let this festival be a seed," she suggested, "from which understanding and unity might grow among us all." The proposal was met with enthusiasm, and preparations began for what would come to be known as the Festival of Stones. Villages from across the region sent representatives, each contributing their unique traditions to the tapestry of the event. The festival, held as the harvest moon rose high in the autumn sky, was a vibrant symphony of colors, sounds, and flavors. Dancers whirled, their feet kicking up clouds of dust to the heartbeat of drums. Storytellers wove enchanting tales under starlit skies, and the air was rich with the aroma of shared feasts. Adeze and Kioma, watching the joy their initiative had sparked, felt a deep satisfaction. Their own tale, once a narrative of pain and rejection, had transformed into one of healing and community spirit. As the festival drew to a close, the elders of the participating villages agreed to make it an annual event, a testament to the enduring power of unity and shared stories. Each year, as new tales were told and old ones revisited, the bonds between the communities strengthened, weaving a regional identity rich with the spirit of cooperation and mutual respect. As the seasons turned, the Festival of Stones grew in renown, its fame echoing like the drums of the savannah, reaching far beyond the local villages. This annual gathering became a beacon, drawing people not only from the neighboring lands, but also from distant regions, curious to witness the unity that had transformed a once fractured village into a symbol of harmony. In the village under the baobab, life flourished. The marketplace, once a modest collection of stalls, burgeoned into a bustling center of trade, where artisans and farmers from various communities exchanged not just goods, but ideas and friendship. The spirit stone, resting beneath the baobab, continued to be a place of reflection and vow-making for all who visited, its surface worn smooth by the touch of countless hopeful hands. Adaes and Kioma, revered now not just as the daughters of Okonkwo, but as the matriarchs of renewal, found new ways to contribute to their village's prosperity. Adeze started a council of elders, composed of wise women and men from each village, to oversee the equitable distribution of the festival's benefits and ensure that the values of unity and respect permeated every decision. Kioma, with her untamed energy, pioneered a program to teach the youth the skills of agriculture, craft, and law, ensuring that the knowledge of the elders was passed down and that innovation was encouraged. She worked alongside the youngest villagers, her hands as adept with the planting stick as they were with the carver's tools. Okonkwo, now an elder revered for his wisdom, spent his days under the baobab, sharing stories of the past with anyone who would listen. His tales, once bitter with regret, now sparkled with humor and humility. He became a favorite among the children, who saw in him not the stern figure of old, but a beloved storyteller, his laps a throne more powerful than any chief's seat. One day, as the dry season painted the landscape in shades of amber and gold, a traveler from the north arrived, bearing tales of a community in strife. He spoke of a land where the earth was parched and the people divided by old grievances, much like the village had been before the sisters' quest. Moved by the traveler's stories, Adaes and Kioma proposed an expedition not to seek another spirit stone, but to offer the wisdom of their own experiences. The sisters, accompanied by a delegation from their village, set out to visit this distant land, carrying with them seeds both literal and metaphorical. Upon arriving, they were greeted with a mix of suspicion and curiosity, but through patience and the sharing of their own tale, barriers slowly began to dissolve. They spent weeks there, working alongside the local people, demonstrating the techniques that had revitalized their own land. As they introduced the concepts of the Festival of Stones, the community began to see the value of coming together, of sharing and celebrating rather than clinging to old wounds. They organized their first communal gathering, a modest feast around a newly planted tree, which they decided would grow alongside their new relationships. When Adaes and Kioma eventually returned to their village, they brought back stories of transformation, of another community learning to heal, inspired by the example they had set. Their return was celebrated, and the news of their success spread, igniting a spark of hope in other troubled lands. Seasons flowed into one another, each bringing its own rhythm and song to the village beneath the ancient baobab. As the renown of Adaes and Kioma's deeds spread, more communities sought the wisdom that had healed a fractured village and turned it into a beacon of unity and prosperity. Each request was met with the same spirit of generosity and fellowship that had guided their own transformation. The Festival of Stones continued to flourish, evolving into a grand confluence of cultures and traditions. With each gathering, the festival expanded its scope, incorporating art exhibitions, storytelling competitions, and workshops on sustainable practices. It became a vibrant tapestry of human expression and mutual respect, a symbol of what could be achieved when diverse communities united under shared goals. In the village, the marketplace that once hummed with local trade now thrummed with the energy of a regional hub. Traders and visitors brought textiles from the north, spices from the east, and intricate carvings from the southern woodlands. The market also served as a classroom where artisans and farmers from different backgrounds exchanged knowledge, each learning and teaching in equal measure. Adaes, ever the peacemaker, facilitated discussions and negotiations, ensuring that all voices were heard and respected. Her ability to listen and guide without imposing made her a beloved leader, not just in her own village, but among all who interacted with her. Kioma, whose vibrant spirit had once driven her to seek challenges, now channeled her energy into leading initiatives for youth engagement and education. She established a network of mentorship programs, linking experienced artisans with young apprentices, ensuring that skills and traditions were passed down and innovated upon. Meanwhile, Okonkwo found his greatest satisfaction in the joyous laughter of children who gathered around to hear his stories. The respect he garnered in his later years was colored by affection rather than fear, a testament to his own transformation. His narratives, rich with the history of their people and the personal lessons he had learned, were a favorite among the festival's many attractions. One dry season, as the winds carried the scent of dust and the promise of rain, a grand council was held. Leaders from various villages and communities came together under the baobab to discuss the creation of a regional alliance. This alliance would be dedicated to supporting sustainable development, cultural exchange, and conflict resolution. Adaeze and Kioma played pivotal roles in these discussions, their experiences and insights proving invaluable. The council concluded with the signing of a charter, an agreement that formalized cooperation across the lands, a dream that had been nurtured by the principles of unity and mutual respect. The influence of the sisters and their village extended even beyond their own region. Ambassadors from distant territories, inspired by the stories they had heard, visited to learn and observe. They returned to their homes carrying seeds, both literal and metaphorical, and tales of a place where the legacy of two sisters had woven a network of thriving communities. As news of their success spread, Adaeze and Kioma received invitations to speak at gatherings and conferences, their insights sought by many striving to replicate their model of community building and reconciliation. As the village prospered, its influence becoming a guiding light far beyond its borders, the seasons cycled through in a symphony of renewal and growth. The baobab tree, under which so many pivotal moments had unfolded, continued to spread its mighty branches, a silent witness to the transformation it oversaw. Adaeze and Kioma, now leaders recognized not only for their past deeds but also for their ongoing wisdom, welcomed delegates and scholars from across the continent. These visitors came eager to learn the principles that had sown peace and prosperity in a land once shadowed by discord. One such delegation arrived from a far-flung region where water was scarce and conflicts over resources had frayed the bonds of community. The delegates were particularly interested in the water conservation techniques that had been successfully implemented in Adaeze and Kioma's village, techniques that had turned arid plots into lush gardens. Kioma led the group through the community gardens, explaining the integration of traditional knowledge with innovative methods. We use drip irrigation, a method adapted from ancient practices, to maximize efficiency, she explained. The visitors listened intently, taking notes and asking insightful questions. Meanwhile, Adaeze hosted workshops on conflict resolution, sharing stories of how the village had overcome internal strife through dialogue and mutual respect. Her sessions, held beneath the cool shade of the baobab, drew crowds that sat enraptured by her calm and thoughtful speech. The festival, which now marked its 10th anniversary, was a grand affair, celebrated with exuberant dances, music, and a feast that drew flavors from the various cultures that had mingled over the years. It was during this festival that a great library was inaugurated in the village, housing records of traditional law, books on agricultural techniques, and narratives of the peoples who had contributed to the village's tapestry. The library also served as a cultural exchange hub, where people could not only borrow books, but also share their own stories and knowledge. Adaeze and Kioma envisioned this space as a repository of collective wisdom, a place where learning was as much about the past as it was about shaping the future. As part of the festival's closing ceremony, a play was performed, depicting the history of the village from its days of hardship to its current glory. Adaeze and Kioma watched from the front row, their hearts swelling with pride as actors reenacted their quest, though now it seemed less like a memory and more like a legend passed down through generations. Okonkwo too was there, his presence a testament to the power of change. No longer merely a figure of authority, he had become a beloved elder, his stories a bridge between the old ways and the new paths carved by his daughters. In the cool evenings, the villagers and their guests gathered under the baobab, where the air was filled with the mingling scents of cooking fires and fresh earth. The stories told were many and varied, but all shared a common thread, the belief in the power of unity and the strength found in shared purpose. As the festival drew to a close, lanterns hung from the baobab's branches lit the faces of the community, their light flickering like stars against the night sky, a mirror of the enduring light that the sisters had ignited in the heart of their world. As the final day of the festival dawned, the village awoke to a symphony of birdsong and the gentle rustle of the baobab leaves. The air was tinged with a sense of completion, of cycles fulfilled and new beginnings on the horizon. The villagers and their guests gathered for one last time under the expansive shade of the baobab, where the spirit stone lay at the heart of the community. Adaez stood before the assembly, her voice carrying clearly in the morning calm. Today, as we close this chapter of our festival, we open another in our lives. Each of you carries with you the light of this place, a flame kindled by unity and nurtured by shared knowledge. Kioma, her presence as commanding as ever, joined her sister. Let us continue to weave these bonds, not just within our homes, but across lands and waters. Our stories, our wisdom, are the seeds from which great forests grow. Okonkwo, supported by a cane but with a spirit as robust as in his youth, stepped forward. His eyes, once so stern, now gleamed with pride and affection. I have seen much change in my time, he reflected, his voice tinged with emotion. But the greatest of all has been witnessing my daughters transform not just our village, but every heart that has touched this sacred ground. As the community listened, many nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting the light of the early sun, their eyes alight with the fire of inspiration. They were not just witnesses to the words spoken, they were participants in the legacy being created. The ceremony concluded with a traditional dance, the villagers and their guests joining hands in a circle around the baobab. The dance was both a farewell and a celebration, a physical manifestation of the community's unity and strength. The spirit stone, at the center of it all, seemed to pulse with a light that matched the rhythm of their steps. After the dance, as the guests prepared for their departures, many paused to touch the spirit stone, whispering thanks or prayers, their words a blend of many languages but with a single heart. They left with more than just memories. They carried with them saplings, seeds, and scrolls, symbols of the knowledge and friendship shared. As the sun set on the final day of the festival, Adaez and Kioma stood together, watching the horizon stretch wide and beautiful. The future was unwritten, a canvas on which they would continue to draw not just their dreams, but those of their community. The tale of the sisters and their father had woven itself into the fabric of many lives, a story that transcended the boundaries of their small village. It had become a legend, a beacon for those seeking to bridge divides and heal wounds, a testament to the power of forgiveness and the enduring strength of familial bonds. As night fell, the village quieted, but the baobab remained, its branches a silhouette against the starlit sky, a steadfast guardian of the past and the promise of tomorrow. The spirit stone, nestled at its roots, continued to glow softly, a beacon of peace and unity in a world brimming with both challenges and hope. And so, beneath the ancient baobab, the story rests, ready to inspire the next who come seeking wisdom, ready to guide those who walk the path of unity and peace.